Hi everyone, it's Diana. Today I want to speak about the spiritual placebo effect. So what is that? We know the natural placebo effect, right? We know that placebo is when, for example, doctors give their patients a pill and they think that this is their treatment. But that pill may be just a sugar pill. It's not really medicine. It's just something else that should not have that effect that they are experiencing. Some patients, they are feeling an improvement and they are believing that the treatment is effective when in fact it's just their beliefs. So for a more accurate definition, let me read this to you. So the placebo effect. This occurs when a person experiences a perceived improvement in their condition or symptoms after taking a substance or undergoing a treatment that has no therapeutic effect, such as a sugar pill. The belief that the treatment is effective is what causes the effect, not the actual properties of the pill or treatment itself. So if we have this in the natural, where do you think is it coming from? Most likely from the spiritual realm. So we have a spiritual placebo. There were studies that were made, and for example, there was one study where people drank some alcohol, but it was not really alcohol. It just tasted like it, but there was no alcohol in it. And they showed signs of intoxication. So they really believed that they were drunk. So how did this happen? Because they did not drink any alcohol. So what do you think that is happening when we believe a certain thing? You may experience sickness. You may experience poverty, but it's not based in reality, neither in truth. Yet you are experiencing those symptoms. You really feel them. You see all around you the evidence, kind of. They were drunk. So how did they end up being drunk? It was because of their beliefs. And their beliefs created a result. And the result was tangible. It was real for them. The lie that they believed, it resulted into them being drunk. It's the same with you. If you believe a lie, then you will end up experiencing those effects. And the truth is, Jesus has set you free. But you believe a lie and you have a different perspective. That's not the truth. It's not based in a reality, but it's a placebo, a spiritual placebo effect that you are experiencing. What you are experiencing is based on your beliefs. The Bible often says, let it be done according to your faith. So what you are believing, it determines what you are going to see. The example that I gave to you is just one of many others. There are a lot of studies, but I think one example is enough for you to understand what it means and what it does to you. I also want to speak about conditioning. So what is conditioning? Conditioning is a way of learning where your behavior changes because of experiences. And there are two types. Classical conditioning, you learn by connecting two things together, like hearing a bell and expecting food. I'm sure that many of you already know about this experiment, but I'm talking about the Pavlov's experiment. So in that experiment, what they did, they conditioned a dog to salivate. So the dog heard a bell, and after that, he received food. And after a while, by doing this, the dog learned that when he hears the sound, he will receive food. So he connected the sound with the food. So when he heard the sound, the bell, he began to salivate because he knew that he was going to receive food. That's conditioning. And there is a second conditioning, there is a second type of conditioning, and it's called operant conditioning. You learn through rewards or punishments, like doing homework to get praise or avoiding something to escape trouble. So let me give you an example. The monkey ladder experiment. A group of monkeys was conditioned to avoid a ladder because climbing it triggered punishment. Even when new monkeys were introduced and the punishment was removed, they continued to avoid the ladder. This is how generational trauma works. Behaviors and beliefs passed down without question. So you see that this conditioning goes into the generational bloodline, because when a person experiences something, it's recorded in the blood, right? We have spoken about this. And studies also have been made, and they have shown that when parents have certain traumas, their child receives it. So you may have certain traumas that it's not you that has experienced those traumas, but it's your parents, grandparents, and generations before you. What helps you identify a trauma that is not because of you, because of your experiences, is when you identify or when you notice how you are responding to certain things. You are afraid when put into certain circumstances without real evidence, without any real cause, because you have not experienced any negativity, any trauma, or anything that leads you to act that way. But still, you react a certain way, like being afraid when you are put in certain circumstances. So it's not that you fear certain events or circumstances or animals or situations in life. It's that your parents did it and you are hosting them within you. So you react the same way. This is why I said that the way the enemy trapped your parents and your generational bloodline, it's the way he traps you, because you tend to fall into the same traps. Why? Because of conditioning. Thought patterns and characteristics are being passed down without you accepting them or not, because the blood shapes you. It tells you what to think. It tells you how to react, either fearful or not. And you may find yourself in the middle of a situation and you notice that you are reacting in a weird way, but you do not know why. Well, it may be because of the trauma of your parents. Maybe they were put into a certain situation, they experienced something that was traumatic, and they passed it down to you. And now, when you experience that thing, it signals danger, danger, do not approach, do not, run away. And this can really mess up your life, because if you do not deal with those things, you end up being controlled by those thoughts, by these patterns. If we consider Pavlov's dog, then we see how somebody can be programmed to quit, programmed to fail, programmed to run away. These are generational patterns, and the way you deal with them is not by simply rejecting them, but receiving revelation from the Word of God, because those things are ingrained within you, but not just in your mind, but within your blood. You may have tried to change your character, to change the way you respond to certain events in your life, but you see those patterns resurfacing again and again, because you need to deal with them on a deeper level, on the blood level. Let me give you another example. The elephant rope experiment. As a baby, the elephant learns it can't break free from a strong rope. As an adult, it doesn't even try, though it could easily snap the now weak tether. This isn't physical bondage, it's mental conditioning. So how often do you find yourself stuck in certain situations that you have outgrown? You outgrow a situation, but still You are being controlled by it. You are being bound by it. And it's not about you being bound in reality, but it's how you perceive it. It's a mental conditioning because you've been trying it again and again and again. And during that period, the Lord has worked on you and you have outgrown it. But what your mind is telling you is that you are still bound. What about retrying it? What about realizing that it cannot hold you anymore? It did a while ago, and you have tried to escape it. You have tried to break free, but you could not. And through that, in that period, you got conditioned. Or maybe you received a conditioning from your generational bloodline. But if you now shift away from your own generational bloodline onto the bloodline of Christ, you will realize that those things are not there anymore because the blood cleanses. And even more, it changes your character so that you can outgrow the situations in your life that keep you, that bind you. Okay, so let me give you a few other examples because the more examples we have, the better we understand. And then I'm going to call it a day. All right, so the rat studies. Researchers conditioned male mice to associate a specific smell with electric shocks. Surprisingly, their offspring, who had never experienced the shocks, displayed the same fear. This is what I was talking about. So this suggests that trauma can alter genes and affect future generations. Let's go to Holocaust survivors. The children and grandchildren of survivors often carry higher levels of anxiety and stress. These inherited traits aren't their truth. They're echoes of past trauma shaping their current reality. So how is the trauma of your past generations shaping your current reality?